A very good afternoon and thank you for joining us on BTV Global News at 12. I am Ruth Obodu and now the news in detail. Former Canadian Olympic snowboarder Ryan Wedding has pleaded not guilty in a United States federal court to multiple charges including drug smuggling and ordering drug-related murders. The report.
Wedding appeared before a federal judge in Santa Ana, California, where prosecutors formally presented charges accusing him of leading or participating in an international drug trafficking operation. According to U.S. authorities, Wedding is alleged to have been involved in the large-scale movement of illegal drugs across borders and to have ordered several killings connected to the drug trade. Federal prosecutors alleged that the crimes were carried out over a period of years and were linked to efforts to protect the trafficking network, eliminate rivals, or silence individuals believed to pose a threat to the operation. The charges include conspiracy to distribute controlled substances and murder-related offenses tied to drug trafficking, which carry the possibility of severe penalties if proven in court. Wedding, who once represented Canada as an Olympic snowboarder, entered a plea of not guilty to all counts during the court session. His legal team indicated that he intends to contest the allegations, maintaining his innocence as the case proceeds through the U.S. justice. The court ordered that Wedding remain in custody as pre-trial proceedings continue. A future court date is expected to be set for motions and further hearings as prosecutors prepare to outline their case and the defense response to the evidence. U.S. authorities have not commented in detail on the evidence at this stage, citing the ongoing nature of the case. The matter has drawn international attention due to Wedding's past as a high-profile athlete and the seriousness of the charges he now faces. Zainab Mohammed reporting for BTV News.
President Donald Trump and Minnesota Governor Tim Walz had a productive phone call on Monday in an effort to defuse a political and public safety crisis sparked by two fatal shootings by federal immigration agents in Minneapolis. The report.
The discussion came as tension remained high over Operation Metro Surge, a federal immigration enforcement effort that has deployed more than 3,000 U.S. Immigration and Custom Enforcement ICE and Border Patrol agents across Minnesota. In separate incidents earlier this month, two U.S. citizens, Rennie Gold and Alex Pretty, were killed during confrontations with federal agents in Minneapolis, prompting widespread outrage, protests, and calls for investigations. According to Walz's office, the governor stressed the need for impartial, independent investigations into both fatal shooting and pushed for a reduction in the number of federal agents operating in Minnesota. Trump agreed to discuss with the Department of Homeland Security how to allow the Minnesota Bureau of Criminal Apprehension to participate in investigations as would normally occur and to explore more coordinated enforcement with state authorities. In his social media post following the call, Trump said he and Walz were on a similar wavelength and indicated willingness to try to improve cooperation with state law enforcement in handling immigration enforcement while focusing federal efforts on violent criminals. Both leaders acknowledged the seriousness of recent events. Gold, a 37-year-old Minnesota resident, was fatally shot by an ICE agent during a January stop in Minneapolis after authorities said she struck or threatened an agent with a vehicle, a characterization disrupted by video evidence and local officials. Pretty, an ICU nurse, was killed days later in another encounter with federal agents. Witnesses said he was unarmed at the time he was shot. Walz's office said Trump also agreed to consider reducing the federal agent presence in Minnesota or to work in a more coordinated fashion with the state on the immigration enforcement related to violent criminals, a key concession amid criticism that the federal operation was overly broad and lacked local inputs. The call signals a shift in tone after weeks of friction between state officials and the White House over federal immigration tactics. Local activists and political leaders have called for an end to the surge of ICE and Border Patrol agents in the state, while lawyers and Minnesota officials have sought greater transparency and oversight of federal action. No final agreement has been announced and investigations into the Minneapolis shooting are ongoing, with state and federal authorities still working to resolve disputes over jurisdiction and evidence assets. Evelyn Zibili reporting for BTV News.
Major U.S. stock indices closed higher on Monday, with the S&P 500 and Nasdaq posting gains for a fourth consecutive session as investors position themselves ahead of a busy week of mega-cap corporate earnings and a key Federal Reserve interest rate policy announcement later this week. The report.
The S&P 500 rose 34.62 points, or 0.50%, to finish at 6,950.23, while the Nasdaq Composite added 100.11 points, or 0.43%, to 23,601.36. The Dow Jones Industrial Average climbed 313.69 points, or 0.64%, to 49,412.40, marking broad gains across major indexes. Both the S&P 500 and Nasdaq reached their highest levels in more than a week and recorded their longest winning streak since December as investors awaited quarterly results from technology giants including Apple, Microsoft, Meta, Alphabet and Tesla, all scheduled to report later this week. Market participants are looking for earnings guidance that reflects measurable returns on investments in artificial intelligence and other growth initiatives, with analysts warning that even modest disappointments could prompt re-evaluation of lofty tech valuations. Communications and technology sectors traded well ahead of earnings from many large companies, said Chris Zachary, Chief Investment Officer at Northlight Asset Management. Investors' focus also turned to the Federal Reserve 2 days policy meeting scheduled to conclude with an interest rate update on Wednesday. Traders widely anticipate that the central bank will maintain current rates, though all eyes will be on commentary for clues about the future path of monetary policy amid ongoing inflation concerns. Among sectors, communication services led gains, while consumer discretionary stock lagged, weighed down in part by a decline in Tesla shares. Meanwhile, gold prices vaulted past $5,000 an ounce for the first time, helping support mining and material stocks. Overall, the market's strong performance reflects a cautiously optimistic mood among investors ahead of the earnings season and the Fed's policy decision, suggesting confidence in corporate profits and broader economic resilience. Evelyn Izibile reports in for.
Legal and political scrutiny has intensified over whether U.S. immigration and customs enforcement agents can face prosecution following the fatal shootings of 2 U.S. citizens during separate immigration enforcement operations in Minneapolis this month. The report.
The shootings occurred amid a stepped-up federal immigration crackdown order by President Donald Trump. The death of the 2 citizens, killed in unrelated encounters with federal agents, have triggered widespread protest, demands for accountability, and sharp disagreements between Minnesota state officials and the federal government over jurisdiction and transparency. Under U.S. law, federal agents generally enjoy broad protection from state prosecution for action taken in the course of their official duties. If an ICE agent's use of force is deemed to have occurred within the scope of federal authority, state criminal charges can be challenged and removed to federal court, where judges often consider claims of official immunity. Legal experts say this makes state-level prosecutions difficult but not impossible. Minnesota officials argue that prosecution could still occur if evidence shows the agents acted outside their lawful authority or used unreasonable force. State authorities, including the Minnesota Bureau of Criminal Apprehension, have sought access to evidence and participation in the investigation. But federal officials have resisted citing jurisdictional limits. This had led to court involvement, including others, to preserve body camera footage and other evidence. Federal prosecution is another possible avenue, though legal analysts note it is rare. The U.S. Department of Justice could bring criminal charges if it determines that an agent willfully violated constitutional rights or acted unlawfully. Historically, such cases are uncommon and require a high evidential threshold. The Trump administration has so far defended the action of the agent, maintaining that they acted in self-defense during enforcement operation. In addition to potential criminal cases, families of the victim may pursue civil lawsuits against the federal government under the Federal Tort Claims Act. These cases allow for
for financial compensation but do not result in criminal penalties for individual agents. As of now, no criminal charges have been filed against the ICE agents involved in the Minneapolis shooting. Investigation remain ongoing with continued legal dispute over oversight, access to evidence, and the limits of federal immunity. The outcome is expected to have significant implications for accountability and federal law enforcement operations nationwide. Favor Kolawole reporting for Beetv News.
Israel has recovered the remains of the last remaining hostage held in Gaza. The Israeli military confirmed on Monday fulfilling a key condition in the initial phase of the Trump administration plan aimed at ending the conflict in the Palestinian territory. The report.